Ooh, what's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 86 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, the incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the Ron Harris to my Don Harris, Lester Jones.
These are awful.
They're better than those like mythology ones I can barely pronounce.
It's been awful for a while.
Should I just go to like maybe I'll go back to just like my brother from the same mother, so I don't have to make up one of these every week.
Something, yeah.
Greek mythology or something.
And of course, we got the ninth wonder, Chocolate Thunder. He respects the power of the majestic ham flour. He knows the appeal of the rusty wagon wheel, the Baron of Browntown, the Duke of Dukieville, the Ayatollah of Assahola, the phenomenal A.J. Singh.
I do try to stay away from the butthole these days. But the ham flour does have a lot of power. I agree with that. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Hamflower, what have you been doing this week?
Man, I've been just door dashing and stuff, trying to make some money on the side. But I did get some news that the Futurama the show Futurama would get rebooted.
Oh, yeah.
So I heard that's coming back, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, they announced it was coming back, and then like the guy that voices Bender was in a contract negotiation, so they're like, well, we got everybody but him, but he eventually came to terms with it. So that's a show though that's like done that a couple times, because like it was canceled, and then they came back and made a few at the time made for DVD type things. I
watched all of them.
And then, I think it went away again, and it came back again.
Yeah.
So it's like the show that never dies.
Yeah, I think you could, there's no time frame for this show. It could just come back anytime. It's just, it could always be around, I feel like, this show.
It's a consistently good show.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, I always liked it. And it at the time, I thought it was, ahead of its time. But now it seems like it's more of that, time frame where people will, get behind the show even more.
Let's see. Anything else as far as watching?
Just Southside. Still watching that. It's a funny show. I'm just about done with season 2, so I'm glad it's coming back for season 3.
Southside.
Yeah.
What about you? I know you've been rewatching The Boys, getting ready for the next season of it.
Yeah, kind of getting a refresher. The shock value's gone because I've already seen it. But yeah, I've been watching that. Been thinking about branching out, and making my own podcast with blackjack and hookers. Nothing?
Futurama reference. We just really want to hear that podcast.
In fact, let's forget the podcast and the blackjack.
Yeah, baby, I knows it.
Thought I was being clever with that reference.
Have you checked out? Nothing. I haven't checked it out yet, but I know there's a kind of spin-off boys cartoon they just recently came out with.
I think I might have saw an ad for it. I don't remember now.
It's called Diabolical, I believe.
That would make sense.
I think it's supposed to be pretty silly, but I haven't watched it. I was wondering if you did. Have you watched anything else you want to talk about, or did you have any work stories this week you want to talk about? Anything?
Work has been slow. I got a new computer, so I've just been programming at work again. Back to the grindstone.
Yeah. Man, you're lucky. Your work, you just do whatever the fuck you want pretty much.
It's it is a very ridiculous amount of fucking off I can do.
My job's just busy work all day.
Yeah.
And it seems like they always add to it oh, we wanted you to do this other bullshit. It's great.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how this even happened, but yeah, I have a job where I have very little to do and basically no oversight. So it's perfect.
I only watched one new thing this week. I watched season 1 of the new show Reacher on Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah.
You guys are aware of this show?
I'm aware of it.
Yeah, it was who Tom Cruise played in that movie,
right?
Jack Reacher.
I watched the first Jack Reacher movie with Tom Cruise. It wasn't very good, so I didn't go. I think the second one was called Jack Reacher.
Give me a Reacher.
Never
round.
Go Back or something like that. I was I never went back because the first one was terrible. But this show was getting some decent reviews, so I checked it out, and it's not bad. I think in the end it does kind of devolve into like an 80s action movie. Like, but basically this guy's like a drifter, you know, and he always seems to wind up in a place where trouble's a brewing. So he's like, he comes to this small town and like a murder's happen and he gets kind of roped into that and everything. And like, there's like a small town, like, you know, murder mystery throughout. But yeah, in the end, like the last episode kind of, like I said, devolves into like a predictable action movie kind of, but it's fine. It's fine.
How do you get roped into a murder? Like a murder happened and you're like...
So he literally, like the spoilers alert for Reacher folks. It starts out, he, like I said, he's just drifting around. He gets off at this bus stop and he's walking past this field, and it literally like turns out that a murder happened in that field like the night before or whatever. So the cops arrest him because he's a suspect. And then like, yeah, he ends up like, they obviously quickly find out that he couldn't have been the murderer, and then he ends up like helping with the investigation. And
I think there's a comedian who has a joke about this. Like, his fear is that he's gonna like one day litter or throw something away, and there's gonna be like some dead white woman's body. And he's like a black comedian.
Yeah,
and he's like, I'm gonna get in trouble for this shit. That's why he doesn't litter.
He just wears gloves everywhere.
3 counts of murder and 1 misdemeanor of littering.
But yeah, that's some bad luck for Jack Reacher.
Man, the guy that's playing him, I know you only watched a couple episodes of that Titans TV show, but it's the guy that they had playing Hawk on there. Yeah. And he's just like a massive like dude.
Oh,
like,
yeah, he's a big guy.
Bodybuilder type. But like... They make this whole thing about throughout the show, like he kind of eats like shit. Like he's always eating like candy bars and like vendor machine food and stuff. And I'm like, this guy needs to be eating like 10,000 calories a day and working out nonstop to be in the shape he's in. I haven't seen him work out once
like
in this
raw
show.
steak.
Right. I'm like, this guy, he's got to be drifting to some steakhouses that they don't see.
Probably hadn't eaten a candy bar in like 20 years.
Probably not. But yeah, if you're looking for like an action show with a little bit of mystery, Reacher on Amazon Prime. Boy, I wish I had more. Do you guys have anything else to talk about before we get into the show?
Oh, I watched that show where kids pitch stupid ideas and then like the adults build them. I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, I saw you watching that. I was like, what the fuck is this?
It was a bit random, but I don't know. Just watching people build stuff.
You love those kind of shows, and a lot of people do. I'm just like bored by them. I'm like, I don't want to see these people build shit out of Legos and whatever the fuck.
It's like watching I don't know,
paint dry.
No, like a ballet dancer or ice skaters. Somebody who's like really good at their thing.
So why don't you like watching sports? Those people are good at what they do.
I mean, they probably are, but I don't know. I never want to commit to sports.
I don't either. Just like I don't want to commit to these shows.
Well, there is some.
To be honest, sometimes I watch highlights. I'm like, oh, that was a good one he did there.
Of sports, yeah.
I will say, like, these shows you're watching aren't as egregious as that. Like, how did this get made? Or no, not how did this get made, but God, Dad used to watch this show where it's basically every factory tour you never wanted to go on. Right. Like, how do they make cotton swabs was a literal episode of it. I'm like, fuck, who cares? How could you care? Do you kind of like those shows like he's watching too?
I've seen those shows. I don't know the show he's watching right now. I haven't seen that one yet.
I forgot what it was called.
But I have seen the show you're referring to, those shows about how things get made. And yeah, they look pretty boring as hell to me.
Like, if you're like a manufacturing engineer, you might be like, oh, ooh. Did you see that rotating cam?
But it was mostly when I was like in my younger 20s, I guess I'd see this show.
Before you got into the hardcore stuff?
I mean, like a conveyor belt with like candy on it or something is not going to catch my attention too much. So yeah, it wasn't very appealing to me.
Like when my dad would watch those shows, it kind of made me think that the History Channel is like just owned by like two really rich guys, and like they don't get ratings, but they're like, I'll bet you he won't watch this show. There's no way. And like the one guy just keeps losing, and he's like, okay, double or nothing. And he's
the
like,
thing about
there's
those
no
shows,
way.
they could be like, oh, this has 1 million views, and it's all like one guy. It's all our dad.
Yeah, it's all dad.
He just comes back week after week.
I especially think that with YouTube videos, if there's like a music video or something that has like 1 billion views, I'll be like, all right, there were like 30 people who watched this like 1 million times for sure. You know?
Just kids looping it, watching.
I'll sometimes do that. Like go back to certain music videos and watch them.
That little Nas one you were telling us about.
Hey, that was one he watched.
Boy, that one's you don't have to go back and watch it. Those images are seared into my skull.
Rent free as it is. Put that in the bank and smoke it.
Just to touch on it, this is March Madness has started today, so that's the big college basketball tournament.
Oh, so I'm really gonna start hating my work chat.
Oh yeah, you're gonna hear a lot about it. But it's like
it's St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
And we're not drunk.
And no green. I guess we got to pinch each other.
I got a little big.
I got blue green. Let's get him.
Blue green doesn't count. But anyway, what about the basketball?
Oh, just my Houston Cougars are in it, so hopefully we don't get bounced in the first round. Let's see.
Do you think they could go all the way?
No. I hope they do. But yeah, it's just
what's Portland's team? I don't even fucking know.
What's college basketball? So there's like Oregon Ducks, Oregon State. Oregon State sucks this year. So
see a lot of like people wearing Ducks.
Yeah, Oregon Ducks are like the big popular team here. They're like the biggest.
The Ducks. Anything else, guys? I'm stalling for time. Let's see if we got any good stories. So anyone who hasn't watched, we're going to go around the table. Everyone's going to bring some random stories they found from the week, and we will see if we can't just make something funny and or entertaining out of it. AJ, as tradition dictates, we usually start with you. So what do you got for us this week?
Okay. Chechen warlord warns Musk Putin would beat him in a fight. After Elon Musk challenged Vladimir Putin to a fight for Ukraine, Chechen warlord Ramzan Kadyrov has decided to publicly throw his support behind the Russian president, saying the Tesla boss needs to pump up those muscles if he hopes to come out on top. Earlier this week, Musk tweeted to challenge Putin to single combat, saying the winner would take Ukraine. How does Ukraine feel about that? Typing out Putin's name using the Russian alphabet, he wrote, "I hereby challenge Vladimir Putin to single combat." Then Musk added, "Stakes are Ukraine," also writing out the country's name in its own language. He later tweeted the Kremlin asking if it agreed to the fight. Now, Kadyrov, the head of Chechnya, a republic of Russia, also known as the Chechen Republic, has decided to get involved, having issued a message to Musk on Telegram? I guess that's an app, I don't know. In the post, Kadyrov, what is that?
I don't know. I just think of telegraphs.
Like, in the
this is how you really get him in Russia. Gonna smoke his butt.
Like a real telegram. In the post, Kadyrov rebranded Musk as Ilona, saying he is too effeminate to take on Putin and needs to bulk up.
Ilana.
Yeah, Elon Musk.
But can he use his flamethrower that he made?
A word of advice: don't measure your strength against that of Putin's. You are in two completely different leagues, and it's not even about martial arts or judo. For example, how do you see it? Are you in the red corner of the boxing ring, a businessman and Twitter user, and Putin in blue, a world politician and strategist who inspires all in the West and the U.S.? Vladimir Vladimirovich will look unsportsmanlike when he beats the hell out of you, a much weaker opponent. Therefore, you'll need to pump up those muscles in order to change from the gentle, effeminate Ilona into the brutal Elon you need to be. I propose training at one of several centers in the Chechen Republic. So basically, this turns into an advertisement. Russian Special Forces University. Here you will undergo firearms training with World Championship Special Forces who beat U.S. Special Forces in 2015 like it was nothing. Akhmat Fight Club. This is where you'll be training to take a punch, a quality needed in any fight, under the guidance of Abuzied Vizmarodov. You will learn quickly to pull yourself up, not just physically, but also mentally, giving you the nerves of steel. And Grozny Chechen State Television and Radio Broadcasting Company practice within the walls of Grozny, where they will tell you about American methods of black PR and teach you how to monitor and update social network accounts. All right. You will return from the Chechen Republic a completely different person, Ilona, that is, Elon. Musk shared a screenshot of the Telegram post alongside a version translated into English, which said, Elon Musk, a word of advice, don't measure your strength. Okay, it's just repeating it. Training suggestions, those already read. In response, Musk has since changed his Twitter name from Elon Musk to Ilona Musk, tweeting a response, thank you for the offer, but such excellent training would give me too much of an advantage. If he is afraid to fight, I will agree to only use my left hand and I'm not even left-handed. Ilona.
You know, I kind of feel like for years, like people loved Elon Musk, and he kind of had this air of like a mystique to him. And then he started doing more interviews and posting more on Twitter, and now people find him insufferable.
Yeah. He seems to have drank in his own Kool-Aid at this point. Like, if you're a billionaire and you're challenging somebody to a fight, like a Russian leader who's has been training for fighting and like has been in the KGB. I mean, you're drinking your own Kool-Aid. It's very unrealistic.
Well, and also he's one of those rich guys that complains about taxes, but then gets all this like government subsidized money. You know?
Yeah, all of his money is subsidized.
You know, one of those hypocritical rich assholes. You know.
Yeah, even the companies that he's bought, like from what I've heard, like yeah, it's smart business that he's done, but like when it comes to actually building something from ground up, he's not the one doing it.
I mean, he's definitely a smart guy, but yeah, he does seem a bit douchey.
Yeah. I think his image is taking a hit these days. And this doesn't help, man. I mean, like, I get that Putin is the bad guy, the scary guy or whatever. But,
right.
Like, this kind of reminds me of when he tried to, like, be the hero in that, those kids who were trapped in that cave. He said that he could get one of his machines down there that could save them. And, he tried to call the diver who actually did save them a pedophile because he was like, "That's not going to work. I can get them out. It's not. You're just going to end up killing these kids or whatever with the strategy." And like Musk got upset with that guy and called him a pedo, and that guy actually went down there and saved those kids. So it ended up making Musk look bad.
Yeah, I didn't know he did all that. That's a crazy thing to.
I think he walked it back later or something, but yeah.
Man, I guess there's a documentary about the guy that went in and like saved those kids, and like I didn't watch it, but I watched that Tom Segura's podcast, and he was just like showing stills from it, and like of these guys, and like they're like professional cave divers, and they would be in like these really narrow areas that I'm like, how could you do that? It's so claustrophobic. Like,
I mean, a lot of people died doing cave diving like that.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's dangerous. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, you couldn't dare me to do that.
No, I'm far too claustrophobic. But there must be people that it doesn't bother them at all to be able to go into places like that.
I've gone through like a tube before where I had to like basically worm my way through.
Like a water tube?
Like a cave, not water.
Cave.
Is that like an army thing?
No, it's something I just did recreationally.
That's too scary for me. Like, I've heard of like caves flooding, so like water could come up and you'd be stuck there.
Yeah, like if it rains on the surface, like it can. Some of them can fill up pretty fast.
No, I'm scared of. First of all, I'm scared of caves. Like in those claustrophobic environments, but I'm also scared of ocean. So like underwater caves. That's horrible. No. Yeah.
Do you think like if someone like, because I remember seeing this like game show years ago that didn't last long. It was like a Face Your Fears type game show, and like one of them, like a guy had to be like buried alive for a certain number of minutes, and then if he did, like he got some sort of cash prize. And like fuck, even if the offer was good, like I don't know if I could do it. Like even if it was like 10 minutes, I don't know if I could do it.
I could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me that would be like sitting on a plane. Like the idea of it is scary, but then once you're doing it, I think I could just. I would try to knock out 10 minutes for how, like, if that's a lot of money coming up.
Probably like at 5 minutes though, you would be like, "Are they killing me? Am I gonna die?"
That's the other thing. You have to really trust these people.
Has it been 10 minutes? It's been a long time.
The one thing that sticks out to me on that show though is like there was a guy that like his fear, like he couldn't put metal in his mouth. Like he would never go to the dentist, and he'd use like plastic spoons because like he couldn't do it. Like there was something about it that really bothered him. And they offered him like, you know, what would be good money for just putting metal in his mouth, and he would not do it. He couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. But yeah, the buried alive thing, fuck, I couldn't do that. Are we ready for Manifesto round 1?
Okay, we'll start out with lighthearted. Magician swindles Walmart cashiers out of thousands of dollars with a trick.
With a trick gun.
No, basically, you come in and you buy something, and they give you your change, and you take it and you palm some of it, and then you count out the rest. Oh. And so he was doing sleight of hand. He hide something, and you count it back, and be like, "Oh, you're short." And then they give it to him and walk off. But apparently, he did this to multiple Walmart cashiers for a grand total of $2,700.
How'd they finally catch him?
I mean, he's on video. I mean, they still run your tills at the end of the day, so if everyone's missing tills, it's on tape.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, apparently they have his picture and everything. I don't think they caught him yet.
He's wearing a top hat and a cape.
They're looking for the great Lundini.
Yeah. But yeah, kids, learn magic.
Apparently being a magician doesn't pay very well. Not in this account.
Like, if you were just doing that and getting like $20, like all over the place.
You'll do a shit ton to pay rent.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you did just like, I don't know. Because you need like enough cash where it's going to be confusing.
Yeah.
Like get $100 in tens or something. I don't know.
It is amazing, like some of those close-up magicians, like just how fast they can be. Because there's those guys that'll do it like at the same table as people, and just like they're so fast your eye doesn't see it.
Yeah, you literally can't see it.
It's pretty nuts. Was that it on that one?
Yeah.
Well, I found one of these list articles that I thought was a little interesting. 5 things that exploded for bizarre reasons. Number 1, the bull semen explosion. In 2019, a huge fire broke out in an Australian agricultural facility. No one got hurt, luckily, but the facility was completely destroyed. A good deal of damage came from an unexpected source. The facility was a cattle breeding complex, and as the fire went on, dozens of pressurized bull semen containers started exploding. According to local emergency services, the fire heated up the liquid inside the tanks, causing it to rapidly expand. The end result was a bunch of exploding semen tanks. Some of the tanks were propelled through the walls as missiles with a sperm payload. The ones that flew the farthest were eventually found in the yards of neighboring properties.
Oh, I just found my new fetish.
Although, you know, like certain like breeding animals, like that can be like expensive.
Yeah, that was probably a fortune. Yeah.
There's jizz flying everywhere.
No, my life savings.
I hope you got insurance. How do you think you buy that policy? I'd like to insure $350 million worth of bull semen.
The guy's out there like scooping it back up and getting it back in the freezer as soon as he can.
He's putting it in like a bucket.
Putting it in his pockets. Next, exploding chewing gum kills a student. A 25-year-old Ukrainian chemistry student called Vladimir met a tragic end in 2009. His jaw and most of his face blew clean off when a piece of bubble gum exploded in his mouth. Apparently, the student was a fan of chewing and used to dip it in citric acid to get more flavor out of it.
Oh, yeah.
He was also into practicing chemistry by making homemade firecrackers. According to local police, one Saturday night, the young man most likely dipped his chewing gum in the wrong container. When he bit down on it, the explosive chemicals ignited with gruesome results. By the time emergency responders arrived, there was nothing they could do. Now that's like a series of bizarre coincidences.
Yeah,
one, this guy's a weirdo that like dips his chewing gum in acid to give it more flavor, and number two, that he's like making firecrackers and like has a similar like container or whatever that he could confuse it with. I mean, I don't know. That seems crazy. Next, Germany's exploding toads. This case was more of a series of explosions than a single large bang. In 2005, people found more than 1,000 toads in the 100 miles between the city of Hamburg and the Danish border that had mysteriously exploded. No one could make heads or tails of the blown-apart amphibians. Experts tested pond water and checked the splattered remains for viruses or bacteria, but found nothing out of the ordinary. Then, one scientist figured out the most likely cause. Local crows had developed a taste for toad livers and learned to peck the organs out without immediately killing the toad. Toads have a natural defensive reaction when they puff themselves up when threatened. But with gaping holes in their chests and their livers missing, the sudden increase in blood pressure only blew the rest of the toad's organs out of their bodies.
Oh.
I mean, it's pretty insane that like the ravens were able to just like peck, like they like we know where what we want is, and they just like get that and leave.
Well, this is like a different thing, but like apparently orcas will just eat like great white livers or shark livers, and they were finding all these sharks. They just had like a neat cut, and their livers were missing, and they were like, "What the fuck's going on?" And those orcas were just eating their livers.
How'd they make a neat cut?
I don't know. I guess you just bite a little incision, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their mouths are so big that you would think that they would just like fuck up a large area.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Crazy. Huh? This next one is the Brooklyn toilet explosion.
Oh, this is the worst one.
A freak incident in 2013 left a Brooklyn man and 3 others in his co-op injured and scared to flush their toilets, and for a good reason. Michael Pierre, 58 at the time of the accident, was in his bathroom when his Flushmate brand toilet suddenly exploded. The force of the blast showered Pierre in porcelain shrapnel. He needed 30 stitches in his head, arms, and legs to close his profusely bleeding wounds.
Jeez.
He can only count his lucky stars he wasn't sitting on the can when it blew up. The reason behind the explosion was plumbing work to install a backflow prevention valve. The contractor had turned off the water, which resulted in air building up inside the pipes until the pressure was too much for the toilets to handle. Part of the blame also lies in the Flushmaster toilets. In 2012, the brand's toilets were recalled in the U.S. and Canada due to faulty weld seams that allowed pressure to travel back up into the toilet tank.
Get a recall on your toilet. How would you even know? You wouldn't know.
I mean, I'm guessing they put out news stories when recalls like that happen, but I mean, how many people actually check? And then finally, the Tunguska event. It was a quiet morning in 1908 on the Tunguska Plateau in the eastern Siberian taiga. And then there was no eastern Siberian taiga. Out of the blue, an enormous explosion with an estimated force of 12 megatons flattened 830 square miles of forest. To put that in perspective, that's about 10 times the destructive force of your average modern nuke. The shockwave of the explosion threw people off their feet and shattered windows hundreds of miles away from the explosion. The most bizarre thing about the event is that no one's ever found an explosion crater. The most likely explanation, at least according to current research, is that a stony meteoroid roughly the size of a Boeing 747, detonated roughly 5 miles above the Earth's surface in an incredible stroke of luck that the thing landed in the barely populated Russian wilderness instead of, say, Central Europe. I mean, that one I've heard of.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
But it just shows, like, even a meteoroid, that explodes above the surface could really fuck up a lot of people.
I think I'm a little more scared of my toilet exploding.
Yeah, I'm still.
Or the snake toilets. Toilet snake.
That's true. Toilet snakes are
Exploding toilet snakes.
Yeah. Getting tired of all these motherfucking snakes.
Wasn't there a weird thing where, like, or some weird myth where some people thought the Tunguska event was caused by Nikola Tesla?
I don't know. I think they were trying to, because they didn't know what had caused it, and finally they modeled like a comet breaking in half in the atmosphere, which could cause it, because there's like a bunch of trees knocked down in a weird pattern.
I know there's a comic I read once where, like, they tried to make some sort of science fiction connection to it, and I don't remember what it was. It was interesting though. All right, so yeah, that's all my mysterious explosions. AJ, you got a story number 2 for us?
All right. Man feared he'd lose his penis after being bitten by a black widow spider.
Oh, yeah, this is one of my possible stories.
A student was left seriously ill in hospital after being bitten by a venomous spider while on holiday in Wales. Abby Tanetta, 18, was bitten while she slept during her holiday in a pallet her parents' caravan in May this year. The teen woke up in agony with a pain under her arm before spotting a huge spider thought to be a venomous false widow spider. I think this was written strangely, this article. Black widow spiders, I think what they mean to say. Within days, Abby was rushed into hospital where medics grew concerned she would catch potentially fatal sepsis. Abby from Surfili, Wales said, "I woke up with a sharp pain that woke me from my sleep, looked next to me, and I saw this giant spider running away from my bed. I was really sore, and it got worse. It got bigger. It was very red, itchy, and so sore that I couldn't move my arm or sleep on the side. I was feeling really dizzy and weak. I was boiling, and I felt like my heart was racing, and the lump had grown even more to the size of a golf ball. I collapsed as the doctors were rushing me into surgery, but thankfully they managed to do it. Otherwise, I could have got sepsis, which you can die from. I was already scared of spiders before this, but now I'm too scared to even go back to the caravan, and the sight of any tiny spider makes me sick and terrified." Abby was able to capture the spider in a container and take a photo of it. She thinks it was most likely a false widow spider. I guess that's what it is, a false widow spider. Whatever it is, it knocked Abby for 6. I don't know what that means. 3 days after being bitten, she was unable to sleep, so visited her GP, who gave her antibiotics and warned her to go to an A&E if pus started to leak from the lump. I'm starting to think that UK language is very different from American English.
Yeah, sometimes they'll throw in a phrase that you're just like, what the fuck does this mean?
Like, what kind of lives are they living over there? Go to the A&E and whatever. Talk to your GP about that real quick. After waking up covered in blood and pus, Abby went straight to the A&E. She said, "By the time I went to the A&E, I was feeling really awful, hot, weak, and my blood pressure and heart rate were really high. The doctor said I needed surgery and just looked at my mom in shock. I don't like blood or needles. I was really scared, but they said it could turn into sepsis if we waited too long. They put me on a drip straight away, but as they were doing that, I had a panic attack and I fainted because I was just so ill and they couldn't get the drip in, so I was dehydrated and shaking. I couldn't breathe, so I had an oxygen mask, and I heard the doctors saying, 'Oh my God, she's really in a bad way.' They rushed me into the theater. Thankfully, the operation was a success. Abby was able to return home the next day. Abby said it's been difficult. It's been such a lot of pain whilst recovering. The pain is a lot better now. After the surgery, I felt like I'd been stabbed, but it has died down. Now I'm just uncomfortable instead." I should really read these articles first because where's the man who thought he'd lose his penis after being bitten by a black widow spider?
Well, what's weird is I have that story too, but I think it's
the actual story.
The actual story.
What
I've had this site do that to me before, though, where I click on the headline and then it has the headline, but under that, like a different story. Here, let me read what I got. Let's see, a man who was hospitalized after being bitten by a black widow spider feared he would lose his penis altogether. Fergus Farrelly, that's a good name, woke up on 7 of January at his mother's house in Cavan, Ireland, when he noticed a marble-sized lump on his private parts. The 26-year-old initially dismissed it, but over the next few days, the lump grew bigger and bigger. On the third day, he was finally persuaded to go to A&E after the lump had reached the size of a golf ball and was turning purple. Fergus said, quote, "I have no idea what it was. When I first went to the hospital, the doctors didn't know either. It was the constant burning pain, and the lump kept getting bigger. To make matters worse, just hours after he arrived in A&E, the huge cyst burst, leaving a giant hole where it had once been. Over the next few days, doctors ran a number of tests on Fergus and finally spotted the venom of a black widow spider in his blood test. False widow spiders are now increasingly common across Ireland and share a similar toxin to the black widow, about 2/3 as powerful. So maybe like somehow yours like linked to the other story because it had the same kind of spider in it or something. I don't know. Fergus said, quote, "I couldn't believe it when they found the venom of a black widow spider in my blood. I had never heard of one before. While their venom is rarely fatal, a black widow's bite can cause muscle cramps and pain so intense it can be compared to appendicitis or a heart attack," Fergus continued. "I got told I would probably have ended up dead if it hadn't burst in the hospital because it would likely have got infected. They said the venom could have spread and poisoned my blood system. Luckily, Fergus was treated quickly and dressings were applied to protect the wound by specialists who said they'd never seen anything like it before. 4 days later, he was discharged, although he has now been left with a 2-centimeter scar." Reflecting on the horrifying and painful experience, Fergus admitted he feared the worst. He said, quote, "I was convinced I would lose my penis. The doctors didn't know any more than me and have never seen a bite down there, so I was very worried. The pain was unbearable, too. But looking back," he added, "I do find it a wee bit funny now because it is unusual. But it's also really scary. I had no idea what damage spiders could do." Man, like a couple years ago, I got this huge spider bite on my back. Like apparently a spider must have bit me in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And then this thing just like swelled up on my back and I'm like, I'm so glad that thing didn't bite me on the dick because that would have been bad news bears.
I mean, how does it get to your dick though? Because you got underwear and pants.
Not everybody.
Yeah, I guess
that's true. This guy could have been sleeping naked, but I feel like even if you sleep in clothes, they could get in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a nightmare, man. I mean, that boil or whatever burst on his penis.
He said it was like a golf ball.
What if he was with a real slag the night before and he was like, "Oh man, I don't know what this is."
Yeah. We'll go with spider bite. Don't tell anybody.
Starting to think this isn't herpes.
I was thinking the big lump on his penis might be a good thing, but once you said it exploded, I was like, oh god.
It's like, my penis is ribbed for your pleasure, but not mine.
Yeah. By the way, you might get pregnant with spider babies.
Oh. That's a horrifying picture.
All right.
Well, we got 2 spider stories. What do you got for us?
All right. Back to COVID. North Carolina man used Game of Thrones themed companies and basically defrauded banks and government for $1.7 million in relief fraud.
Man, your stories are all about swindling people.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. What do you do exactly?
So basically he made up these fake companies and like gave them fake reports like, "Oh, I got X number of employees, blah, 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 blah," and got, funding.
Oh, I see. When they were giving out money for companies for COVID relief.
But yeah, 1.7 million. I was just thinking, like, if he funneled that off into like Bitcoin or something, because he only got like 20 months in prison, that might be a pretty fair deal.
Yeah, that's a win. Yeah, Yeah, 20 months in prison for 1.7 million. Yeah.
I don't know if you got to keep it though.
Well, I just always wonder too about like, what would happen if you just like got every credit card you could, got all the money you could, and then just like, oh, bankruptcy or whatever. Like I don't. And hide the shit or whatever.
I mean, if they can tell you're doing it as fraud, but if you're just like, yeah, I blew it all on, hookers and crack, then I don't know how that works exactly.
Debtor's prison is making a comeback.
I mean, they kind of already are, right? Can't you get in trouble now you can get arrested for your...
You can get for not paying your taxes.
That's the only thing, not like bills or anything.
You won't actually do jail time for not paying your taxes unless you pull like a Wesley Snipes and actually commit fraud. But if you just like, or
like, oops, I can't pay this.
Yeah, like even if you just straight up don't file your taxes, like they'll eventually like start garnishing your wages and all that kind of shit. Yeah. But they're not going to arrest you unless you actually commit fraud.
I was starting to think like it was so stupid that they made student debt, so you couldn't get out of it by declaring bankruptcy.
Yeah, that sucks.
Because then like the incentive of the banks to give a whole bunch of shitty loans that are insured by the government becomes very high. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's very and like those are like, I mean, besides medical debt, I would think like the next highest thing people would want to declare bankruptcy for because it just gets so out of control.
Well, that's the thing too, and sometimes people are like, they're paying what they can, they can't pay it all, and then like it still has interest, and like they're like, I started with 40,000 and I'm up to 100,000.
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah, it's a hole you can never get out of.
You're like, I'm done. Yeah, I'm just gonna buy a fake ID and go start over somebody else.
How long did it take you guys to pay off your student loans?
Still doing it.
Oh, you're still doing it?
Yeah.
I didn't have that much. I had like $5,000, so it was probably like a year or two.
Yeah, same. Like I did it as cheaply as I could. I did my first 2 years at a community college, and like basically, like if you do that, pro tip to any kids out there thinking of going to college, like this might not be like the what you want to do, but yeah, I just did my first 2 years at a community college with like the financial aid or whatever. Basically, did it for free.
Basically, you get those bullshit classes out of the way they make you take that you don't even need.
And then I did my next 2 years, at Montana State, illegitimate college, which is of course more expensive, but still, got as much financial aid as I could and whatever. And I don't even remember what I owed overall, but I was probably able to pay it off within 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad of.
Yeah, I paid pretty much all mine with military money. Which, worked out all right.
Yeah, I'm still making like $300, $400 payments.
Yeah.
Damn. Do you remember like what yours were in total?
Probably like 40,000.
God damn.
Yeah.
You did like 4 years?
Yeah, I double majored.
In Houston?
Yeah. University of Houston.
Did you like the college experience?
No.
I didn't either.
I always loved school.
No, I never really got into school. I liked learning. That was fun.
I mean, I always worked hard and I was a decent student, but I never enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It just seemed like one of those things you have to do,
Yeah. It was an accomplishment, once you were done with those. I think for me it was like 5 years going to college. Once that was over, it was like, all right, slap a bow on it, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, same.
Like I got a decent degree, but I still feel like when I left college, I didn't have a good enough plan. Like I should have had like some kind of roadmap.
Yeah, me too.
Because then I stalled out for quite a while.
Well, like you're considered an adult at 18, but like how many of us at 18 fucking know what we want to do? Or, I certainly had no fucking idea.
Yeah, I think parents don't do a very good job with that, with like kind of honing in and figuring out like what you would be appropriate at. And a lot of parents push kids in a direction that doesn't fit them. And I think that comes back on a lot of people.
Even now, though, with like hindsight and everything, like I still don't know exactly what I would do if I had to do it all over again. I mean,
right now,
it's tough, man.
Right now, depending on the mentality, I don't even know if I'd go to college. I mean, you can get into like a trade and be making $100,000 a year as an electrician or something.
Well, yeah, honestly, for kids that are graduating high school now, like growing up, they always told us, oh, you go to college and you're going to make 4 times what a normal person would make, or whatever the fuck they say.
I mean, it depends, but they should warn you about, people getting stupid fucking liberal arts degrees and shit. I mean, if you're going to engineering or doctor, veterinary, or, there are a lot of things where you are going to make good money, computer sciences, but there's a lot of fucking dead ends.
At the same time, though, I don't even know if that's super true today, that like a college degree is going to make you that much more advantageous, because I think there's a lot of people getting degrees now that aren't even really the bullshit, like, arts degrees, that are having a hard time getting jobs.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of bullshit ones out there, so I'm 100% that a fair number of them are doing much better than others.
Yeah, but I think.
But even even if you're a doctor and you come out with like a couple $100,000 in debt or something crazy, you've got a road ahead of you still after you've just put in like 6 or 8 years. I don't know. I don't think I could do the doctor one.
No. Like, the one thing I would tell kids out there is, like, if you're in school, like high school, and, like, even if you're doing good, like, if you fucking hate it, like, you don't have to go to college. Just know that. It might not be for you.
Yeah, and people who go and do a year or two and waste their parents' money and then drop out anyway, is like, you got to be a little bit careful. But, yeah, you definitely get some guidance in that department if you can.
Definitely, like, try to go after something you think you'll enjoy, even if it seems, like, not easy. All right. Let's see what we got here.
How close are we? Because I'm close to shitting my pants.
You got to hold it for about another 15 minutes.
Oh, man.
But I got a question for you. What is your favorite cartoon of all time? The answer, of course, Scooby Doo.
Oh, I was going to say probably Samurai Jack.
Say Rick and Morty, maybe.
Which leads into my topic. 4 real-life mystery cases straight out of Scooby Doo. All right.
Is this where, like, Ed Gaines was wearing somebody's face? I would have gotten away with it.
Number 1, the poltergeist of Castel Coldrano. Castle Coldrano is a 15th century castle located in Laces, northern Italy, near the Austrian border. In 2005, strange things started happening.
Do they have tapestries?
There are many, many tapestries. Strange things started happening at the ancient castle. As night fell, the castle's door would start suddenly opening or slamming shut. Haunting voices rang out in the hallways, and things in general went bump in the night. The ghastly events went on for 4 months. By the end of it, the castle's owner, who by that point was starting to lose his mind, pleaded the local police to help him. The cops, wanting to get to the bottom of the mystery, set up cameras around the castles. Instead of a creepy ghoul, they caught a 42-year-old Polish woman roaming the castle halls at night, pretending to be a ghost. According to the cops, the woman was the wife of one of the employees in the castle. Apparently, she had had some undisclosed grievances against her husband's employer. Okay, the next one, Patch Eye Pete and the Haunted Gold Mine. There's a lot of gold on the Korean Peninsula. Back in the 1890s, long before the North-South split, an American company called Oriental Consolidated Mining Company set up a gold mine in northern Korea. Unfortunately, the employees like to pilfer company property, such as mining supplies and the mined gold. So boss of the mine, known to history as Patch Eye Pete, decided to stop the thefts. Pete, who unsurprisingly wore a glass eye, plucked out his prosthesis and set it on a table at the entrance to the mine. He told the local workers that he could see everything going on in the mine through his eye. The plan worked for a while. Pete soon discovered that the miners had placed a cup over the eye to stop it from seeing their crimes. When he heard that many Koreans believed that there was an ancient guardian spirit living in the mine, Pete got another idea. He acquired a gramophone, a technology unknown to most Koreans at the time. He recorded himself bellowing ominous warnings and left the gramophone running overnight at the bottom of the mine. Lo and behold, the next morning, everything that had been stolen from the mine was mysteriously returned to the office. As far as we know, Patch-Eye Pete got away with it too. Next, the real Freddy Krueger. In 2015, 47-year-old Englishman David Lamb received a 5-year jail sentence for child abuse. The man had tormented his 3 stepchildren for a year, pretending to be the supernatural child killer Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
This is just parenting. Come on.
According to his stepchildren, Lamb would climb up to their house attic at night and make scratching noises over their bedroom. When the terrified children came to tell him of the noises, he'd tell them to go back to bed. It may have started as a relatively harmless prank, but things soon got more sinister. Lamb trained his pet lizard to bite the kids as they slept and tell them the wounds were actually the work of Freddy. When he wasn't pretending to be a movie ghost, Lamb was being generally abusive in other ways. He'd hang the kids by their shirt collars or on clothes hooks and lock them in closets while blasting music at them at full volume. The traumatized children came forward with their accusations only once they were adults. At a trial, the judge found the claims to be true and sent Lamb straight to jail. How do you train a fucking gecko or whatever it said to bite the kids in their soul?
Yeah, I don't know.
Jesus. And then the hungry ghost. In 2008, a Japanese man in the town of Kasuya noticed something strange going on at his house. Over several months, food had begun mysteriously disappearing from his kitchen. Was he dealing with a ravenous poltergeist or some other kind of famished ghoul? To find out, the man set up a security camera in his kitchen. Like in the case of the Italian castle, the cameras didn't catch a ghost. Instead, they spotted a strange woman entering the kitchen and eating food from the fridge and cabinets. Naturally, the man immediately called the cops, but when they arrived, they discovered that all the door and windows at the man's house were shut and locked. Nobody could have reasonably been able to get in the house. So, was it a ghost after all? No. After an exhaustive search, the police found a nervous woman curled up on a mattress in the man's closet. The woman, identified as Tatsuko Horikawa, told the police that she was a homeless and unemployed. About a year ago, she had found the man had left his front door unlocked, so she decided to move in. In her defense, at least she was a courteous, unwelcome guest. While the man was gone, she kept both herself and the closet neat and clean. I mean, did he never look in the closet?
You know how bachelors are. Like, I have a closet? Fuck.
I mean, this woman must have been super quiet, though.
Yeah.
Like, she must have never made a sound. I mean, it's pretty crazy that she lived in there for a full year without this guy finding out.
Never noticed food was missing or anything.
That's the other thing. You would think you would be like, notice that sooner, you know? Maybe at first she was just eating like the really like old shitty things that she didn't think you'd notice.
It's like stealing food out of the fridge at work. You only eat some of it, so they're not sure if they're going crazy or not.
Or maybe he was like a rampant like alcoholic or drug user, and he just like I guess I got fucking drunk and ate my whole ham again. I like that article. That was entertaining. All right, AJ, round 3.
All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see if my next article will really be that article.
Bitingpenises.com.
All right. Woman's UTI turns out to be glass tumbler that was in her bladder for 4 years.
Ugh.
After a routine trip to the doctors to treat a UTI, one woman discovered a glass tumbler in her bladder that had been lodged in there for 4 years after inserting it for erotic purposes. The 45-year-old from Tunisia visited the doctor after experiencing all the symptoms consistent with a urinary tract infection, such as frequently needing the loo. Much to the woman's horror, scans revealed a giant 8 centimeter wide bladder stone that had been growing for 4 years, encasing what appeared to be a drinking glass. Bladder stones usually develop when urine is not completely emptied from the bladder. However, in worst case scenarios, they often occur as a result of foreign objects being wedged inside the body. X-ray of glass tumbler. Oh, it's just a picture. It soon transpired that the woman used a glass as a sex toy in her early 40s, a glass that was now lodged inside of her. How did she not take it out when she was done with it? How do you just forget you have a glass up there? The rare case has now been published in urology case reports detailing the findings of the medics who examined her at Habib Bourguiba University Hospital in the eastern city of Sfax. So I'm guessing the S may be silent. I don't know. Facts.
Man, that's got to be... Yeah, it's ought to be like alcohol or drug related.
Yeah.
But like, isn't there like a tube from your bladder? Like, how do you get it in there?
Yeah, I don't know. How many stories have we done of like guys sticking weird shit up their dick holes and now a woman doing this? I mean, I just don't understand these people's compunction to do this kind of shit.
Yeah. According to the medical journal, the woman experienced no blood in her urine nor suffered from urinary incontinence, both common symptoms of UTIs. Nevertheless, an analysis of her urine revealed a red blood cell range of 23 to 25, when a normal range is 4 or less. This told doctors her body was most likely fighting off another illness. An X-ray soon revealed a rectangular form lurking inside her bladder that resembled a glass, which was encased by a large bladder stone, measuring 8 centimeters by 7 centimeters by 8 centimeters. Just for reference, bladder stones usually vary in sizes between too small to be seen by the naked eye and just a few centimeters wide. In order to remove the bladder stone, medics carried out a cystolithotomy, and the woman was luckily discharged 2 days after making a full recovery. Doctors revealed there have been a relatively high number of similar incidents reported among women who have inserted foreign objects in their urethra for pleasure. The urethra is erogenous, meaning it can give their introduction a masturbatory character in search of erotic sensation, the medic said. Various objects have been inserted into the bladder, they noted. However, embarrassment often results in late-stage diagnosis when the patient has suffered from complications such as UTIs or bladder stones, the doctor warned.
So for a woman, it's actually erotic to put things in the urethra? Because I got to say, I don't think for a guy that's erotic at all. It just seems painful.
Seems like it'd be like kind of terrifying.
Yeah, I don't even know people try this shit.
But this wasn't in her urethra, was it?
Well, you have to go through the urethra to get to the bladder, right?
Oh my god, a woman can open up her urethra that much?
That's what I was saying. It seems like, how do you even do it?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds crazy.
That sounds super painful.
But they have a picture where it looks like they cut the stone open, the glass is inside and everything.
Yeah.
You got an X-ray. Oh, crazy.
And the other thing is like, okay, so like she finds out she likes sticking things there. Why a glass?
I don't know how you build your way up to a glass.
She must have gotten the first thing she found. Like, I don't know. You can't find anything stick-shaped?
You telling me this woman doesn't own a dildo?
I mean, I think sticks are like the first thing that you'll find as a human on planet Earth.
Jeez. Yeah. Craziness.
Can you imagine if you like... You're an archaeologist and you find like this skeleton and there's like this kidney stone here and then there's like some fucking like artifact inside of that big ass kidney stone.
Yeah, but humans used to have kidney stones this big and they used to keep things in them.
This is the first recorded instance of someone shoving pottery in their bladder.
Well, do you got a manifesto story we could go out on?
I mentioned this one to you. I don't know if I mentioned it to OJ, but like I've been rewatching The Boys, but the Homelander character Anthony Starr. So he was arrested in Spain for punching a chef. He was, and so went to court, and he was sentenced to 1 year. But they've got this weird thing there where, like, if you don't have a criminal record, if you're sentenced to less than like 2 years, they let you off the first time. So, like, he was sentenced and let off. But yeah, I guess he was filming a movie there, and yeah,
That's everybody gets one line.
yeah, we'll give you that one.
I mean, I really want to know now, like, what happened exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. But
It makes, I mean, that's very bad optics for him right there. Like,
yeah,
You have to think substances were involved.
maybe
Unless this guy's just fucking crazy as shit.
he was typecast as a psychopath because he's a psychopath.
Well, funny enough, because one of my, coworkers heard this story and he was talking to me about it. And like they said at one time, they interviewed the cast and they were like, which one of you guys is most like the character you play? And like everybody said that guy.
Oh, so he is like a piece of shit in real life.
oh, shit.
Maybe. Or at least just comes off as very like wild or something. There's got to be something about him.
Yeah. A little menacing, kind of.
It's like he's so good at playing a psycho.
He drinks milk like that in real life.
He's like, I'm a method actor, but all I play is assholes. Man, some actors, like that are method actors, they gotta be so insufferable.
Yeah.
Like, I hear stories about that Jared Leto guy, and I'm like, yeah, he's a good actor, but is he worth putting up with?
One time I was reading one of these like 50 stories or whatever about celebrities, and it was like, I think it was like half was positive encounters, half was negative encounters, and there was like a lot of people were like, I met Jared Leto, he was a real asshole. I was like, damn, there's like multiple accounts of this. But yeah, I guess if you see him in real life, steer away.
Yeah, I mean, it depends because, like, everybody is going to have a bad day. So, like, everybody's going to... I'm sure somebody has a Tom Hanks story where they're like, oh, everybody loves Tom Hanks, but I'll tell you, I met him and he was an asshole. Yeah. But, like, when the stories start piling up and you got, like, everybody that meets this guy says he's an asshole, then you're like, okay, he's probably an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, did he agree with it too when they were all sitting there? Like, he's like, yeah, I'm mostly Homelander.
I didn't see like the interview or whatever he was talking about, but there must be something about the guy. Yeah. I mean, obviously they work well enough to work with him, but yeah, imagine like actors like there's got to be a fair amount that are pretty nuts.
Oh yeah,
are hard to work with. They're just like unprofessional.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know how like they become actors because like to deal with those kinds of characters and personalities, to try to wrangle them and like make them behave a certain way at a certain time seems impossible.
Yeah, like, but the thing is, if they're good at something, people will put up with a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, if they're making them a lot of money, which a lot of these guys are, All right. Well, I think that's our show. Unless you guys got anything else you want to add in.
Diarrhea time.
Diarrhea time. Well, everybody watching, we certainly thank you. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to your YouTube service of choice. Tell all your friends about us. Share our clips and everything on social media. Give us likes, comments, good reviews, and why not follow us on Twitter? Guys, where can people find you?
I am at a name for this too, and that's number 2.
At Unsolicited SUG.
And you can, of course, find me at Zach Jones Live. That's going to be ZachJonesLive. And that is going to do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Have a good one.